Hey everyone. So I'm super excited today to be showing off some software I've been working on lately. I've been working on using some Django to develop a user interface for a software I've previously written. It's a software that deals with audio file manipulation. And so I just wanted to kind of demonstrate that. There's a lot of code to go through, so I just want to jump straight into it. First, let me just kind of show off um, how the software works. So first, I'm going to work here. As I said, I'm using Django. Django is a web app development tool that uses Python to create Python, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, different languages, but mainly Python to develop web apps. So let me show you a little bit about how this works. So I'm going to run this server and open up the website here. So as you can see, we have just a very basic form. There's not a whole lot of styling applied to it yet, which I will be getting into that later. I just kind of want to show off some of the functionality. So here we have a file form. So up here, right here, you can just go ahead and upload an audio file that you'd like to manipulate. And so now you can see here, it says recording.wave. So that's the file we'll be using. And now here we have the timestamps that we'd like to split at. It gives you a specific format to enter it in. So let's say, for example, that we want to do, we'll split the files from 0 to 40 seconds, 40 to 60, and 60 to 80. And you do that close bracket. And then when you click the submit button, you can see it pops up with two messages saying the file has been successfully submitted, and it tells you where you can find the files. Right now, I have it just so that it uploads the files directly into the current directory that the original file is located in. I'll add some more user-friendly interface to be able to select the directory you would like. So if we go back to in Visual Studio Code, we can see that all of these recordings here are they're added into the same directory that we have our original file. So that's really cool. So I'm just going to jump into a little bit about how that works. So basically what we're doing here is we're working with forms. So to start off, we have our forms.py file here. And so basically what we have is we have a class. That class defines two different types of forms, the ones that you saw on that server. So we have our file form, which what that does is that creates that little button that you click on to upload that file. It's a super useful tool, really nice for uploading files. And we also have a char field for the splits that we would like. Here I use a widget to add some styling into it. So we have our text input, we have our placeholder, which is just where it gives an example of how to input the forms. And then we have our styling where we declare the width and the class. And then the labeled is the text right on the left of it that says, in this case, it says what timestamps would you like to split at. And so that's very basic. Forms are very simple, but it's how you incorporate that into the other files. So we have two different HTML files that we use here. So we have our base HTML. What that does is it loads in a CSS styling sheet, which I will apply later to add a little bit more tweaks to that. And inside of here, it handles any messages that are displayed. So basically this, as we can see here, we have it calls our form, and it puts it in as a paragraph type. And then we also have our input button that is created. And so this basically just takes the generic HTML and says, this is what I want the form to be. And then as you see, it also has a spot to include our messages. And so we have our messages HTML, which just gives it a class and a type that displays some type of message. And this is where we get into the more, this is where we manipulate it more. So this is our views.py. As you can tell from the name views, it's just what the user will actually interact with. And so there's quite a bit going on here. Very simply, We have anything, all of this section right here. This is just basically what my previous Python program would do, and I'm just calling that program into here. So first off, we want to check if there has been a post, if the user has interacted with the form. And so if they have, then we request the form in the files, or the post in the files, and we set a variable form equal to the file form. And we want to check if the form is valid. And so if the form is valid, we're going to pass in the cleaned data to that form. And I just set it as an attribute, or set it as a variable to file. And we also want to have our splits. So basically what this is doing is it's saying, okay, that first form, where if you look in forms.py, we have, we have the variable file, which is equal to forms.field, file field, and then the split, which is equal to forms.char field. And so in here, we're just saying, I want you to take the cleaned data for the file variable, so the file form. And same with the splits. I want you to take the splits form. And now we have our timestamps. And so this is basically where it says we're taking this, the splits, and we're taking whatever the user has, and we're putting that into a string, or a list of integers that can actually be used by the program. And then we have, this is, like I said, some of the code that my previous Python script has implemented, which I have covered in a later video, or in an earlier video, excuse me. And so that just calls that function, and then it can display these two messages here. So we have our messages, which comes from our messages.html, and it displays that the file has been split successfully, and where you can find those files. If it is not a post, if the user has not done anything yet, then we just want to set it to a blank form with nothing in it. And we render that, and that is what we're able to see. So that's just a very basic overview. There's a lot more that I could go into regarding the URLs and different settings. Django is a really wonderful application for, I guess, a interface that you can use to develop these web apps. I highly recommend it. So yeah, that's it. And hopefully going forward, I'm going to add a little bit more of a, like I said, CSS styling, a little bit more of a, I guess, effective user interface. So this is just kind of the bare bones, but I've had a lot of fun with this. So yeah, thanks guys.